So moving on to the first slide, which talks about what RBI is. So RBI is the Central Bank of India and a regulatory body coming under the jurisdiction of Ministry of Finance. So every country has its own central bank, and in case of India it is RBI. It comes under the Ministry of Finance. RBI was established on April 1, 1935 in accordance with the provisions of RBI Act 1934. So the act was passed in 1934 and it came in existence it started its functioning from April 1, 1935. Okay. Earlier, RBI used to have its head office or say central office in Calcutta. Now it is Kolkata, and which got later shifted to Mumbai in 1937, and from then till now the central office lies in Mumbai only. Central office is where the governor sits and policies are formulated. The major function of RBI, which is formulating the policy and managing or targeting the inflation, all of that happens at the central office, which is situated in Mumbai. When RBI was formed, it was privately owned bank, but in 1949 the ownership changed and now it is the government owned bank. So what happened was, when RBI was formed, the share of RBI was held by some group of people and it was privately owned, and the government didn't have any role in it. But in 1949 all the shares were purchased by the government of India and it turned into a government owned bank. Also, this is a very less known fact, but the Central Bank of India, which is RBI, has also served the Central Bank for Pakistan for 1 year, from the time of partition, that was 1947 till 1948, till the State Bank of Pakistan was started. Now this is the logo of RBI, and this, if you see, the tree here is palm tree, and this animal is a Royal Bengal tiger. So this is about the logo. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about the head office, as I told, is in Mumbai. It's the current governor is Shaktikant Das. Also, with the one governor, there are 4 deputy governors in RBI, and they are as follows: respected BP Kanungu, MK Jain, MD Patra, and Rajeshwar Rao. So they are the 4 deputy governors heading 4 different departments. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about the functions of RBI. We will just go through the diagram and we'll take each function one by one. So first one is, it is issuer of currency. The next one is it frames monetary policy. It is banker to the government, supervisor of financial system, foreign exchange management it does, and it is banker's bank. So we'll take these functions one by one. Start off with the first function, issue currency notes. That's the main and the primary function of RBI, that the currency which floats, the rupee notes which we are holding in our pockets, it is issued by RBI. There are currency printing presses which prints the note, but the sole responsibility to issue the currency is of RBI, except 1 rupee note and coin. If you see, the 1 rupee note and coin the responsibility to issue this is of Ministry of Finance. Now the RBI derives this power to issue notes is by RBI Act 1934 under the section 22. The next point says it is banker to the government. Now how it is banker to the government? It is banker by the virtue that it gives loan to the government. It manages its loan on its behalf. Also, it's just not the banker of the central government, it is the banker to the state government as well. It transacts business. When I'm talking about business, the banking business of both the government, the transactions are done by the RBI. So the transactions here refer to, let's suppose if the state government wants to raise loan or wants to issue bond for some developmental purpose, so everything is done via RBI. RBI is the one who will issue bonds on behalf of the central and the state government. So by the virtue of this, RBI is banker to the government. Next point So it is bankers bank. What is bankers bank? Banks bank. So there is so many banks in India. Let's suppose there is ICI, there is HDFC, there is Punjab National Bank, there is Yes Bank. So they are itself a bank, and every bank needs a super bank, or called super daddy. So that is what is RBI. That role is played by RBI over here. So that is why it is called bankers bank, and it is also called lender of last resort, because when the banks fail to get loan from any other source, so where does it land? It lands to RBI for the help, and RBI gives loan to the bank so that the liquidity of the assets is maintained and the functioning of the bank is not hampered. So by the virtue of this, it is bankers bank and the lender of last resort. Last resort, whenever there is no, when the banks have exhausted all their options to avail loan, so it is the RBI which steps in and gives loan. Moving on to the next function, it is the controller of credit. By this controller of credit, it means that it is the RBI who sees how much money has to be floated in the market, whether the money supply has to be increased or it is to be decreased. So all of this is decided by RBI, and by using its qualitative and quantitative tools, RBI decides how much amount of credit has to be there in the market, whether the loans given have to be increased or to be decreased. So all of this is done by the quantitative and qualitative tools of RBI. The next point is, it is custodian of foreign exchange. All of the foreign exchange balances and reserves. What is foreign exchange? Foreign exchange is basically the foreign currency. It could be dollar, yen, pound, sterling, crowns. So all of that, the balance and the reserve is maintained by the RBI, and it also maintains the exchange rate by intervening at the right time, so that the rupee does not get depreciated as compared to the foreign currency. For an example, if we suppose that $1 is equal to 70 rupees, okay, and such a situation arises that the dollar becomes expensive, and then $1 is 80 now. Okay, so for in the earlier case, to buy $1 you have to spend 70. Now this is such situation has arisen that the dollar, to buy $1 you have to spend 80 rupees. In such a situation, RBI will step in and see that the money doesn't further depreciates, and it doesn't fall below this, and will take such an action that again the rupee appreciates and get back to the previous level or even better than that. Okay, so I hope this point is clear to you. The next point is, it is supervisor of financial system. Yes, besides being a central bank, it is also in a regulatory role, wherein it regulates the commercial and the cooperative banks by keeping a check on liquidity of their assets. Okay, so if RBI is not there as a regulator, banks would take such an action or would do business in such a way to maximize their profits and not taking care of the interest of their customers. So which would definitely in the long term evade the interest of the customers, and banks may go bankrupt or any worse situation can happen. So to avoid all these situations and to maintain the trust of investors, RBI also regulates these banks by keeping a check on the liquidity of assets, by asking banks to maintain CRR and SLR. CRR here means cash reserve ratios, and SLR is statutory liquidity ratio. All these ratios are there to see that enough liquidity is maintained by the bank and they are able to honor their commitments. Moreover, that it sets rule regarding the branch expansion, mergers, and winding up of the banks. So if any bank wants to open up more branches or get merged with any other bank, or have to wind up its operation, so it has to go to RBI for the permission, and RBI will see that by undertaking such an action, the interest of the investors are not harmed, and the the trust is maintained, and only after ensuring such things RBI gives permission. Going on to the next slide, and the last function, which is monetary policy. Okay, so as of now, if you know that the monetary policy is framed by the Monetary Policy Committee, and this Monetary Policy Committee came into existence in 2016. So before that, the sole responsibility to frame the monetary policy for the country was with the RBI. But after coming this MPC into existence, the responsibility has been shifted to them, and this MPC is headed by the governor of RBI, whosoever is the acting governor. In the recent time, it is Shaktikanta Das, as I have told you in the previous slides. So these were the broad main functions of RBI. There are many more functions to it. For example, RBI keeps organizing investor awareness programs and keep educating the citizens of the country so that they don't fall prey to any of the frauds that happen. It plays active role in educating people, and it tries to involve more and more people into the financial system of the country, which is also called as financial inclusion. It appoints ombudsman. So ombudsman is a person, suppose if you have any complaint against the banking system or any particular bank, so the authority to which you approach is called the ombudsman, and is appointed by RBI. So there are so many secondary functions of RBI there in place, but the major functions we have covered in these slides. I hope these slides make some point to you. This is all for the today's video. Thank you so much.